Okay, students, as you know that structuralism dramatically influences literature and the way critics use to perceive and criticize the literary text. So this theory employs a structuralist approach to examine the underlying principles of text composition. टेक्स्ट को कंपोज कैसे किया गया है, कौन से ऐसे प्रिंसिपल्स है जिनकी बेस पे टेक्स्ट को कंपोज किया गया या टेक्स्ट लिखा गया या टेक्स्ट बनाया गया है, उनका जो एग्जामिनेशन, जो टेस्ट या उनकी जो स्टडी है या उनका एनालिसिस जो है, दैट इज कॉल्ड स्ट्रक्चरलिस्ट अप्रोच. Another example or principle is also related to plot progression. You may also say how author placed or presented the characters, and when you will study about this activity, this will called as structuralist activity. In this regard, Northrop Frye, who is a Canadian literary critic, he gave his approach towards structuralist stance or towards this approach, towards this idea. He says that historical criticism are modes theory. This is related to themes. These themes may also be related to tragedy or comedy, or you may also say that all the historical criticism can be written in the form of tragedy or comedy. Number two is archetypal criticism or myths theory. That is also tragedy, comedy, satire, and romance in every or any form. You may write these criticism or this sort of criticism. Number three is ethical criticism or symbols theory, which is related to mythical, anagogic, literal, descriptive, and formal. These are the forms through which you can elaborate or through which you can express the criticism or the symbols. Afterwards, last one is rhetorical criticism or genres theory. This may be epic in a sense, this may be dramatic, this may be in lyrical form. Now, semiotics and structuralism. As you know that semiotics means the study of sign and symbols and their use or interpretation. That is not only related to the symbols and signs, but also their use of the sign as well as use of the symbols or interpretation with the help of that language. Ferdinand de Saussure and Charles Sanders presented semiotics theory with three critical ideas into structuralism. As you are only mainly concerned with this movement, so you will learn about semiotics with the three different rules. Number one is iconic signs, in which both signifier and signified resemble each other like tags of men or women on washroom doors, meaning there must be some tags. These are the iconic symbols, these are the iconic signs. If you have placed the picture of male or any female on washroom, it will indicate that this washroom is meant for the females or this washroom is meant for the males. Indexes. Here, signifier's job is indicating the signified, such as smoke and fire. Then there, if smoke is there, it means that fire will also be there. Next is true symbols. True symbols refer to the conventional and arbitrary relation between signifier and signified, which is a thing or concept or idea. You may say that true symbols, when they are related to conventions or they are related to traditions, it means what the traditions are saying about any symbol, that symbol will also be followed in the coming generations. Now, who are the famous writers or philosophers so far as structuralism is concerned? First of all, the most important writer is Ferdinand de Saussure. Saussure's time period is 1857 to 1913. He was a Swiss linguist and one of the key figures in the development of modern approaches towards language and its study. First, he rejected to the idea of historical aspects of language and concentrated on the patterns and functions of language in use today, with the emphasis on how meanings are maintained and established on the functions of grammatical structures. First, your main focus, according to Saussure, your main focus is on how meanings are maintained with the help of the words or gestures, how signifier is going to help in creating signified, or in creating or in conveying the image or the idea or the concept in the minds of the learners or the listeners. For this, he formulated some rules, or he told about different things in so far as his emphasis on the maintenance of meaning, around the creation of meaning is concerned. Because he was mostly, he was not interested in the historical aspects of language. So first he stressed that the meanings we give to words are purely arbitrary, and that these meanings are maintained by conventions only. What do you mean by the word arbitrary? It means that these words are, the meanings of these words are based on random choice rather than any reason or any system. Any, if you are following conventions, if you are following any traditions जो पास्ट से मीनिंग्स चलते आ रहे हैं, तो आप उन मीनिंग्स को लेके अपने साथ जो हैं वो चल रहे हैं. Words are unmotivated signs, meaning that there is no inherent connection between a word and what it designates. For example, there is a word hut that is not in any way appropriate to its meaning, and all linguistic signs are arbitrary like this, because conventions are saying, what do you mean by hut? Hut means all the time that it is a shelter, it is a sort of place where can somebody can live. So according to Saussure, the word hut is not at all appropriate to its meaning. And according to him, all linguistic signs are arbitrary like this. When you say this word like hut and its meaning, there is also a sort of onomatopic words like cuckoo and his. But even these vary between languages. And he also says that signs are arbitrary, and is a fairly obvious point to make, that it is not a new thing to say. And the structuralists were interested in the implication that if language is a sign system, then it is based on arbitrariness of this kind, because it follows that language is not a reflection of the world and of experience, but it is a system which stands quite separate from it. So please try to understand that language as a sign system is based on arbitrariness. What is arbitrariness? On random choice of this kind. And then afterwards, we can also say that language is not a reflection of the world and of experience. His second point is that meanings of words are relational. First, he said that meanings we give to words are purely arbitrary. Now he is saying that meanings of the words are relational. We can also say that no word can be defined in isolation from other words. The definition of any word depends on its relation with other or adjoining words. For example, the word hut, as we have quoted in the first place, the word hut depends for its precise meaning on its position in a paradigmatic chain. What do you mean by paradigmatic chain? Of or denoting the relationship between a set of something. Or you may also say that it is there to typically exemplify something. That is called paradigmatic. So, for the paradigmatic chain is concerned, the chain of words related in function and meaning, each of which could be substituted for any of others in a given sentence. For example, we can say that the word hovel, shed, hut, house, mansion, and palace. This is a chain, and this chain is based on the words which are used as synonyms for hut. The meaning of any one of these words would be altered if any of the words were removed from the chain. You may say that hut and shed are both small and basic structures, but they are not quite the same thing. I'm talking about the chain which I have told you: hovel, shed, hut, house, mansion, and palace. One is primarily for shelter, hovel and shed or hut and shed. One is primarily for shelter, and the other is for storage. Without the other, each would have to encompass both these meanings, and there would be a different word. In the same way, a mansion can be defined as a dwelling place which is bigger and grander than a mere house, but not as big and grand as a palace. And then you may define mansion by explaining how its meaning relates to that of the two words on either side of it. And according to Saussure, if we have paired the opposites, then this mutually defining aspect of words is even more apparent. The terms male and female, for example, mainly have meaning in relation to each other. Each designates the absence of the characteristics included in the other. So, this may also be noted as binary opposition. The qualities which are present in male, they are absent in the females. In the same way, females are possessing some different qualities. You may also quote the example of day and night, good and bad, for the clearer understanding of the rule of opposition or opposites. The relation aspect of language gave rise to famous remark like Saussure says, in a language there are only differences. Without fixed terms, all words then exist in differencing networks like these dyads or paired opposites, and like the paradigmatic chain of dwelling place words given earlier. You may note over here that different words can be placed in a sort of chain like synonyms, like different words which are giving the same meaning. But as I have told you earlier, that if you are going to compare hut, shed, house, palace, mansion, meaning to some extent will be different. So pairing opposites or different form from other words like men, women, day and night, like cat as word and object is not like dog. So that's why it is a cat and so on. Meaning if you are going to pair the opposite things, you will also get different meanings of different words. But according to Saussure, meanings can be understood outside. That is, meanings are not present in inside the word. यू हैव टू क्रिएट ए सॉर्ट ऑफ कॉन्टेक्स्ट. आपको कॉन्टेक्स्ट क्रिएट करना पड़ता है, आपको अंडरस्टैंड करना पड़ता है उसका लार्जर स्ट्रक्चर के साथ जो रिलेशन बनेगा. He introduced two different concepts, and before going towards this concept, I want to tell you about the third concept or point, that language constitutes our world. It does not just record it or label it. This was his turning point on the part of language learning or structuralism is concerned. Language constitutes our world. It does not just record it or label it. Meaning is always attributed to the object or idea by human mind and constructed by and expressed through language. It is not already contained within the thing. Meaning is not present within the thing. You have to construct the meaning by your own mind, by your own understanding. And you may say here that well-known examples of this process would be the choice between paired alternatives, जिसको हमने पहले भी जो है वो बाइनरी ऑपोजिशन कहा था, जिसमें मेल और फीमेल की एग्जांपल दी थी, डे एंड नाइट की दी थी. एंड नाउ हियर वी कैन कोट द वर्ड टेररिस्ट और freedom fighter. There is a difference between a terrorist and a freedom fighter. So this is also one of the paired choices or paired words. Another example of the same concept can be seen in the two ways of referring to the domestic tax imposed in Britain by the Thatcher government. Opponents of this tax called it the poll tax, evoking images of the Middle Ages and the peasants' revolt. The government itself called the tax the community charge, avoiding the negative word tax and making use of the favored term community. This term, or the term for this tax used by the given individual, immediately indicated a political position and again no neutral or objective alternative was available. So you may say that pairing opposites are all the time there to create different meaning or to give you different meaning by your understanding. Uh, According to Saussure, there are two main concepts for understanding the structure. One is langue and the other is parole. What is langue? A structured system of the language based on certain rules. And parole, personal or specific understanding of the language or utterance of the thought in a personalized way. That is called parole. This distinction makes you able to understand language as a system or structure on the one hand and any given utterance in the language on the other. Any particular remark in French only makes sense to you if you are already in possession of the whole body of rules and conventions governing verbal behavior, which we call French. The individual remark then is a discrete item which only makes sense when seen in relation to a wider containing structure. In the classic structuralist manner, language is heterogeneous and speech is homogeneous. Saussure writes, language is a system of signs in which only essential thing is the union of meanings and sound images and in which both parts of the signs are psychological. Psychologically आप इसके जो दोनों पार्ट्स लेंगे आप साइंस के वो साइकोलॉजिकल एलिमेंट पे बेस करते होंगे. जैसे वो कह रहे लैंग्वेज इज ए सिस्टम ऑफ साइंस इन विच द ओनली एसेंशियल थिंग इज यूनियन ऑफ मीनिंग्स. When you are taking language as a system of science, now you have to unify, or now you have to unite the meanings as well as the sound and images which are coming to your mind. He also subdivided sign into signifier and signified and argued that both concepts are psychological. For example, the object table is a sign. The concept of a table is signified by using the signifier, the word or sound image table. Another important writer is Roland Barthes, whose time period is 1915 to 1980. He was French literary theorist, essayist, philosopher, critic, and semiotician. He applied the structuralist method to the general field of modern culture. Science exists only in language and not outside it, according to Barthes. As per his study, semiology is classified in four different elements. Number one is language and speech. Number two, signifier and signified, and their connection is necessary. Means if you are going to speak a word, book, it must be meaning as book, not anything else. Then syntagm. It is a unit of language consisting of set of phonemes, words, phrases that are arranged in order. And system. Relationship between two different sentences that are interchangeable. The last one is denotation. It is literal and primary meaning of a word in contrast to the feelings or ideas that the word suggests. And connotation. Invoking of an idea, feeling, or word additional to its primary meaning. I am repeating that according to Barthes, semiology can be classified in language and speech, signifier and signified, as well as their union or their connection, syntagm and system, then denotation and connotation. According to Barthes, we understand an individual item by placing it in the context of the larger structure to which it belongs. Meaning anything or any word is nothing if it is not going to be connected with a larger structure. The individual item is a particular story and the larger structure is the system of codes which Barthes sees a generating all possible actual narratives, just as the grammatical structures of a language can be seen as generating all possible sentences which can be written or spoken in it. One of the best essays written by, best theories written by or devised by Barthes is Death of the Author. It is his famous essay, which is at the end of structuralism and at the beginning of post-structuralism. Same is with other essay S and Z. According to Barthes, author is dead when he has explained everything which is related to. So, according to Barthes, in order to attempt a structuralist analysis to any text, to any literary part, it is very important to identify the structure of the text through language, keeping in mind all the four different classifications which he has given to us, like language and speech, a connection between signifier and signified, then connotation and denotation, and afterwards syntagm and system. The last point is what structuralists do. Their main task or responsibilities are as under, for example, they analyze prose narratives, meaning literary texts relating the text to some larger containing structure. Text individually is nothing. It is going to have its value within its structure in which it is composed. The convention of a particular literary genre. Number two, a network of intertextual connections. Intertextual connections, intertextual references, intertextuality, which is a term which will be further explained in our coming lecture. Basically, it is going to highlight or refer towards other texts within your own text. Number three, a projected model of an underlying universal narrative structure. And number four is a notion of narrative as a complex of recurrent patterns or motifs. What is important point in structuralist tasks are their duty that they interpret literature in terms of a range of underlying parallels with the structures of language as described by modern linguistics. The notion of my theme by Levi Strauss, denoting the minimal units of narrative sense, is found on the analogy of the morpheme, which in linguistics is the smallest unit of grammatical sense, like ed is being added to a verb to denote the past tense. From present to past, you have to change the word, like if it is a word like, you are going to add D to make it liked. Number three is they apply the concept of systematic patterning and structuring to the whole field of Western culture and across cultures, treating as system of science anything from ancient Greek myths to brand of soap powder. This is what structuralists do. So, uh, for recapitulating, I'm again saying in structuralism, as conventionally said, that meanings or significance is not a kind of core or essence inside things. We can say that structuralists all the time there to stress that meaning is always outside. Meaning is always an attribute of things in the literal sense that meanings are attributed to the things by the human mind, not contained within them. Meanings are not at all contained or present already in the things, but human mind which is going to perceive the meaning about anything. जैसा आपका माइंड परसीव करेगा उस चीज़ का मीनिंग लेने के लिए, वैसे ही आप उसको मीनिंग देंगे. ठीक है, तो मीनिंग उस चीज़ के अंदर ऑलरेडी मौजूद नहीं बल्कि आपके माइंड की कंस्ट्रक्शन. ओके स्टूडेंट्स, थैंक यू वेरी मच फॉर लिसनिंग एंड फील फ्री टू आस्क इफ़ यू हैव एनी क्वेरी इन योर माइंड. अल्लाह हाफिज़.